The Tennessee Titans should be all in on bringing Lamar Jackson to Nashville. Find out why and much more on this week's episode of Talking Titans. Sammy, start me up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Sick Podcast Talking Titans. I'm joined always by my two co-hosts, Jarrett and Van. How we doing tonight, fellas?
Pretty always good.
Can't wait to absolutely
can't wait to get this started.
Yeah, so we got a lot to cover. As always, we've brought in another fantastic guest. We're not going to waste any time bringing her in. So, Kayla, why don't you come on in? Kayla Anderson, how are you?
What's going on?
Man, I'm just living the life here in Nashville, Tennessee. I was just talking to y'all off the air here, and I said, I don't know what the weather is going to be like from day to day, but it's sunny today, and that's a good sign, right? Because we had plenty of official signings.
Absolutely. Kayla Anderson, obviously you guys know her from 104.5 The Zone. She covers the Titans, and we appreciate all the work that she does on a regular basis for us. So first and foremost, thanks so much for taking the time out of your night to talk a little Tennessee Titans with us. And I think we'll just jump right into it. So my first question for you, Kayla, I think a lot of people are a little taken back by the Kevin Byard news that's come across our phones, whatnot, over the past few days. There's been a lot of contradictory reports. Some people said that they made him an offer, and they said if you were, or he said that if he wasn't going to accept the offer, that he was going to ask to be released. And then there's reports that came out that said he never asked to be released. What are you hearing? Obviously, you're much closer to the scene than we are. Is there any extended information you can share with us on that whole situation?
Yeah, and we kind of addressed it on our show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, because Ramon Foster clearly played in the NFL. He has been in situations where he's seen this happen to guys that he's played with. And I simply just asked him straight up, like, when you have an organization come to you and say, hey, will you take a pay cut? And you say, nah, I'm good. What's the chances that that ends up working out in the end, that they come back and they're like, okay, well, we're going to bring you back. Don't worry about the pay cut. And he said that doesn't happen much, right? I mean, once that is kind of strained in terms of the relationship, I think it's hard to patch up. And I'm not saying that Kevin Byard isn't going to be a Titan this upcoming season. But if the reports are true that he indeed was approached by the Titans and asked to take a pay cut, I find that, in my opinion, a little bit offending to a guy who has worked his absolute butt off for this franchise. On the field, you guys know what he's done. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a guy that the numbers are still there. He's a key part of that locker room and the leadership of that entire team. And then off the field, he does every single thing right and is heavily involved in the Nashville community. And so for a guy who's done everything right, that Mike Vrabel, mind you, at the end of the season said, hey, look, Christian Fulton, hey, look, David Long Jr., you can't stay healthy. So why don't you look at a guy like Kevin Byard, who's almost 30 years old, and is out there for every single game and hasn't had injury issues? Why don't you go train with him? So to me, when you put a guy up there on a pedestal like that too, and if he was indeed approached by the organization, and I'm not saying that that was Mike Vrabel's idea to do that, to me, it's just not great business. And I would not take a pay cut if I were Kevin Byard. But then again, he's told them he wants to stay here, right? He wants to retire a Titan. So sometimes I feel like organizations take that and kind of use that to their advantage.
All right, moving right along. We have holes all over the offensive line. So the Titans just signed two veteran offensive linemen, one being former first round pick and Washington State alum, There's your little Go Cougs for you. Andre Dillard. Do you think that they're going to use him as the bona fide left tackle of this football team, or do you think they're going to use pick 11 and still pick an offensive lineman?
That's a damn good question. We've just been going back and forth on this because in a way this signing threw us for a little bit of a loop. But if you look at it, we talked to Andre Dillard today. He was in the building and he was specifically asked about what he prefers in terms of, position wise on the line. And he absolutely went straight to left tackle. He said, that is what I feel like my goal is to play. That is what I feel like I've been brought here to play. And so in his mind, that is the position that he wants to be at. Now, that is not to say that if they really, really like that tackle, wherever, it might be Paris Johnson, it might be another guy that might be a little more versatile. I think that if they really are in love with that tackle at 11, they'll take him and they'll kind of just use Dillard. I know you're going to talk about the money, but they could use Dillard in different positions because we all know too, in the depth perspective, at least with this line, it's been an issue. And I think if anything, it's good to have guys that are ready to go. And look, that guy could come in, that rookie could come in, and they could battle for that position. And if anything, you got more depth at it. So I know maybe that's not what Titans fans want to hear because they did give him some money. Right now, I think he's going to be the guy, but I still think they might take an offensive lineman to tackle no matter what at that number 11. If they're in love with
even if wide receiver and all the wide receivers are on the board, you wouldn't still pick Jackson Smith?
Yeah, if there's a wide receiver, if Jackson Smith and Jigba is on the 11 spot, is at the 11 spot, I think, in my opinion, the Titans need to take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Because, look, they have nothing at wide receiver. They have Traylon Burks, and that's it. And look, whatever you want to – Kyle Phillips told me at the end of the year, I'm doing everything I can to be healthy. I'm going to do whatever I need to do in the offseason. That's great, but they need a number two. They need a number. I mean, he's not going to be that guy no matter what.
No.
He might be like a 3 or a 4, but they need a number 2 and a number 1 solidified. And Traylon, that's still up for grabs. Like,
yeah, that was going to be my next point.
I still think he has work to do and things to prove. Yeah. So if Jackson Smith and Jigba's there, he's a true talent. He's also an Ohio State guy, which a lot of those dudes, I've covered that program. They put dudes in the NFL and they stick there for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, first off, thanks for coming on. And speaking of receivers, a receiver needs to be throwing the ball by somebody. And right before this podcast started, Josh Dobbs was signed by the Cleveland Browns. We've asked everyone who's come on, Cameron Wolf, Teron Davenport, Jim Wyatt. A lot of people still think Ryan Tannehill is going to be our quarterback going into next year. What do you think, at least, if you don't know who the starter will be, what the quarterback room might look like? Is it still a possible play at 11 if someone falls to us? Because a lot of people thought Josh Dobbs, with his play, warranted a legit shot at the backup position last year with Malik. So does this make you believe that they still think Malik has a chance to be, a guy they could use in the future and they're number 2 right now? Or, what's basically your feel on that position? Because I think everyone's waiting for the shoe to drop and, it hasn't dropped yet. So
you mean rip the Band-Aid off? Yeah. It's at some point, I feel like they just want to see a move because they know that Ryan Tannehill is not the future, right? I mean, he might be the quarterback this upcoming year, and I don't think that's a bad thing. If they can surround him with more weapons and get that offensive line fixed, which they look to be doing, I think Ryan Tannehill is definitely serviceable. However, this is about the future more than anything. And you made that clear when you brought in Rand Carthon. And you see some of these things that they're trying to do with moving pieces around and kind of getting some of these older players out and bringing younger guys in that they can develop. However, I don't like the backup situation right now, guys. I didn't really like it last year. I thought that, Malik Willis, great. You take him at in the third round. You try to maybe see what you can get out of him, but I think you saw a lot of what you were going to get last year, because guess what? He played in games. Like, and I know he was a rookie and I know he was learning, but like now he's got those games under his belt, and I just didn't see enough like growth from him to know like he's going to be the guy in the future. But this move and them not trying to go after Dobbs as the backup, which I wanted to see happen, makes me think that they're still trying to give Malik a chance, guys. They're still trying, okay, one more year under Tannehill. Maybe that'll be enough to get him ready to be our guy, to be our number one. I personally don't like it, and I don't know if that's the plan, but it sure seems to be looking like that with that moves with Dobbs signing with the Browns.
Now, if there's a situation in the draft similar to last year or 2 years ago, maybe when Fields fell a little further than people thought, and then the Bears traded up to 10 to go get their guy, is there someone in particular you think the Titans might have their eye on if they fall to a certain spot, the 8, 9, 10 spot, where we feel as though if we only have to jump 2 or 3 spots, there's someone that we might be interested in, whether it's Richardson, Levi's, or, I doubt, Stroud or Bryce Young will be there, but do you think it's at all a possibility if someone's there around our pick that we make that move?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I like Bryce Young. I think he's small though, and to me, it's hard to in this day and age with quarterbacks. I mean, look at what you're seeing with Tua, also a smaller guy. And I'm not saying he can't do that. Guy is talented as hell. I'm not saying that. But my guy is CJ Stroud. Like, if there is one quarterback in this draft that I'm saying like that's my guy, he's going to get it done. He's got all the physical attributes, plus just everything in terms of, the smarts of playing the quarterback position. Like, that's the guy I would give up stuff to go get. And he's not going to be there, right? I think the best bet, guys, is looking forward to next year's quarterback class. And unfortunately, you can't predict that far in the future. But in my opinion, that class is more stacked with quarterback talent than this one. So I don't see them going to get a Will Levis. I don't like Will Levis. I just don't think he is going to have a career in terms of a long-term career in the NFL as a starter. You have seen it so many times with these quarterbacks that get picked so high. Just half of them don't even pan out. And I'm not like the quarterback whisperer, but like a lot of the guys that I've thought, okay, they're not going to make it. They don't freaking make it. Anthony Richardson's a toss-up to me. Like, for me, him going to Seattle, him working under Geno Smith, I think he could potentially be something. But you guys, the Titans can't afford a project right now, right?
Yeah.
Well,
My bad, Sal, real quick, since we're on a quarterback spot. So you're talking about a project quarterback. We have Malik Willis right now as a project. But what happens if, like, the Heisman favorite before he got injured in college football last year falls into the second or third round? Are you taking that chance in Hendon Hooker, or are you going to move up for him in the second round? Because right now, in my opinion, Hendon Hooker is a way better established quarterback than Malik Willis is.
No, I would completely agree with you. I met Hendon Hooker at the Senior Bowl this year. And first of all, the freaking dude's hands are like that guy. Yeah, like, you see his hands, you're like, okay, that dude like can hold it. Like, that guy's an athlete. Like, he can palm a football. Like, that dude, when he talks, when he leads, like, he is that guy. And the only thing that's holding anybody back is obviously the ACL injury, which he is on the fast track in terms of that too. And with today's technology, I don't really think that's a problem. I think there's still questions about the system at Tennessee, right? And, is he going to be able to transition into the NFL? I think he is. Just from everything that I continue to find out about him, and what we saw from him, it's hard to push back on that, because he had a Heisman-like season and unfortunately got hurt. I don't know if this Malik thing throws off everything, because if it wasn't for Malik, I would say, they would go get maybe a project quarterback, or they would take a Hendon Hooker in the second round. And maybe they do, right? I just think there's too many other needs right now, guys, that they have to worry about patching up on this team before they think about a quarterback, unfortunately. Because John Robinson pigeonholed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just put it quite frank.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that, this conversation got to the point where I can cut in here and ask this question, because we mentioned the holes the team has. We mentioned the need for a future quarterback. Well, if you're going to go the route of drafting a quarterback and if it's not going to happen this year, you're going to have to, pay up a lot of draft picks, especially if they contend in the AFC South next year.
Mhm.
Now, another way that you could start rebuilding this team from the ground up is getting a quarterback that's already established,
Right.
that's still young, that was a previous MVP a cup of coffee ago. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around why it doesn't appear, at least from the outside looking in, that the Titans aren't throwing their hat in the ring on Lamar Jackson. And it just really blows me away. I want to hear your insight on it, and maybe is there anything that whispers you're hearing that maybe they're trying to keep it close under closed traps? What are your thoughts, Kayla?
Well, one thing I will say about right now, what I've learned under this new regime and Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, like the two aren't letting anything out. And this is going to make it really tough for me and to do my job and all the other media people. And then for y'all too, that, have these great podcasts and are fans of the team. We're just not hearing anything. They're not leaking anything. And that's something I think Mike Vrabel wanted to make sure, because he was not on the same page, in my opinion, as John Robinson. That's another one. Right? As much as you wanted to say they had a great relationship, okay, whatever you want to say on the surface level, but I just don't think they saw eye to eye at all. And I think they disagreed with a lot of things. And there was a lot that got leaked out under the John Robinson regime. And I'm not saying, he did it. I don't know who did it, but we're not hearing a lot of that. It's a lot of tight-lipped, business over here. And in Lamar's situation in general, though, you guys, we're really not hearing a lot. And I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked when he was able to start talking with teams on that Wednesday. I thought we were going to hear a whole bunch more. We didn't hear barely anything. And so it makes me wonder, are teams just not wanting to deal with the negotiation of not having an agent, and he's clearly set at a certain number? But if I were the Titans, I think you got a new GM, you've got a situation where, like you said, Tannehill isn't your future. I think if anything, they should at least talk to him. I think if anything, they should at least run the idea of, okay, what would it look like bringing Lamar here to Tennessee? Would it make sense? Because there's nothing wrong with at least having the conversations, right, guys? And maybe they did, and it just nothing's gotten out. But I think that it would be smart to have that conversation, because you're right. They seem to want to compete next year. I mean, that was Vrabel saying, we're going to compete as long as I'm a head coach. Not saying that that's going to be the case. I don't know what's going to happen in the AFC.
Yeah, and everyone and their mother says how much Mike Vrabel eats, sleeps, and breathes the run, right?
Right.
And you want to talk about elevating your run game with a future Hall of Fame running back behind that man. I just genuinely don't know how you game plan Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the same backfield. So that's really what blows my mind the most, why we're not hearing any interest from Tennessee.
Right.
Because for a team that loves to run the ball so much, and a team that has struggled throwing, when you get a guy who can run like crazy and has had passing success with little to no help around them, it would seem like an ideal fit for him.
Yeah, as long as you can get a little bit more here, right? Because you've got Derrick, and he seems to not be going anywhere right now. I mean, I know that there were some kind of talking rumors about him maybe potentially being traded. I think that's simmered down. So as long as you can, continue to make sure you're solidifying the line, you've got to get a receiver in here. You got to get at least a veteran receiver and then draft a receiver. I don't know what's going on in that room. It literally blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Who is your veteran wide receiver? Because there's really none on the market right now. Adam Thielen just signed with the Carolina Panthers, and now there's rumors that DJ Shark has followed a ton of Panther players, so he may be going to Carolina as well.
That's what I mean, DJ Shark was what I was hoping to at least have some traction on. And you know what? Who the hell wants to come there, though? Because they know that they're going to be blocking as a wide receiver. Like, first and foremost, they're going to be a blocking wide receiver. So I don't know until they start to show that trend of not going in that direction. I don't know what wide receiver would want to come here right now if they don't know what that room looks like or how this offense is going to operate. I think that's part of the problem too.
Yeah.
Well, I think going back to Lamar, where the hesitancy is, because I'm a little bit on the minority on that side. I'm not to say the man isn't extremely talented. We know who he is, but we have to be honest with the fact that the last 2 years he's missed 10 games. His style of play is a little worrisome. We would potentially have surrounded him with less talent that he had in Baltimore behind a line that hasn't really played together at all. And I think that's the reason why the Ravens only offered him that 3-year deal, which he tweeted about, because to commit to him for 5 to 6 years, we are probably going to have to give him $250 million, I think is an extreme risk. And I don't think this team right now that's their move. So nothing to take away from Lamar Jackson, extremely talented, but you can't ignore the fact his style of play is worrisome, considering it looks like it's starting to catch up with him a little bit. I mean, it's 12 games the last 4 years, 10 games the last 2 years. And, that's not something that, he's not going to change his style of play because that's what makes him special.
Sure.
So, I don't think that's their move right now. I wouldn't be mad at it, but I don't think it makes the most sense, especially because you would have to cut key players to be able to make room to sign him. So I just think it's a risky move, and that's not where they're at right now.
You also have to put in, the whole debate on, why are people so ticked at Ryan Tannehill still to this day? Because he's not a playoff mentality, whatever, can't get him over the hump type of quarterback in the postseason. Like, Lamar hasn't had much success either. So I know that there's that argument too. Like, okay, well, what has he really proven when it matters the most, right? Like, regular season, okay, cool. But what can you do when the bright lights are on, right?
Yeah.
So I see both sides of that as well. And I do think the injury thing, dealing with a few of those injuries as of late, and just knowing that he is such a, physical guy, he's on the run, he's more apt to getting hurt. And how Vrabel's kind of said he wants to shy away from injury situations in terms of injury prone players. I'm not saying he's injury prone, but he has had some that have piled up a little. So I could see that too being a thing where Vrabel maybe is like, nah, I'm good.
All right, Caleb, before we let you go, we have a new little segment on the show to get to know our guests a little bit more. So, Sammy, just roll it.
Think fast.
All right, so we're going to put you into the hot seat. We're going to ask you a couple series of questions, little fun questions. So, your favorite band?
Favorite band? Oh my God, you guys. Okay, so does it have to be like rock, or it can be anything?
Anything you want.
Okay. Oh my God, you guys. Shoot. This is hard because I'm such a rap person. Like, I love like rap and R&B. Like, I'm like a big Biggie and Tupac and like
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All the ones that have passed, if you want to say.
I'm in my 30s, so I appreciate it. It's all good.
Yeah, like I'm a big Biggie, Tupac, that kind of generation of rap.
All right, that's good. Past Titan you would add to the current roster right now?
Oh God. Oh my goodness. Honestly, I'm not going to think too far back because I really wanted to come back to Tennessee. Jonnu Smith.
Okay. We did say that about him going to Atlanta, too. We wanted old Jonnu back.
Right?
Favorite bar on Broadway?
Ooh. I'm going to have to say, oh my gosh, the Honky Tonk.
There we go. And if you had to choose one one sport for the rest of your career to cover, pro or college, what would it be?
I'm gonna go with, you know what, I'm probably gonna go with the NFL. I would have said MLB, and I'm still a big baseball fan, but the NFL has grown on me spending 6 seasons here. So, and it's the biggest and the baddest, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go with the NFL.
One thing you miss from your home state of Washington.
Ooh, the mountains and the natural lakes.
Okay. And your last question. You've been through 7 cities covering all your sports. What is your favorite city?
I would have to say, let's go with Nashville. Yep, we'll go with Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we knew that answer was coming. That's a safe answer.
That's home now.
All right, Kayla, we thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. Obviously, you can find Kayla on Twitter at Kayla Anderson TV. You can also find her on 104.5 The Zone weekdays from 6 to 10. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Kayla, can't thank you enough, and maybe sometime down the road we'll chop it up again once more dominoes fall. Obviously.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
But thanks so much, Kayla. You have a wonderful night.
Hey, thanks guys for having me.
Take care. Thank you.
All righty. Kayla Anderson from 104.5 The Zone. Thanks so much for joining us. Very knowledgeable, of course, and we appreciate everything she does. So hopefully we'll catch up with her later down the road. And moving on from that, as of, I believe, what was it? It was like a 3 a.m. signing, it looked like. I mean, I was still up at the time, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever the hell. We did sign a cornerback from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know it ends with Bunting. Fellas, help me out on this one.
I'm passing to the English major.
Bunting.
Who is it?
Sean Murphy Bunting.
Sean Murphy Bunting. That's it.
Yes.
Did a little research. The fans fucking hate him over at Tampa Bay. They're like, good luck with this guy. He blows coverage left and right. But then there's some critics that say he's got some upside. What are your thoughts on that, Vin?
I mean, I like him a lot. He was very crucial in the Bucs Super Bowl run. I believe he had an interception or so in the divisional round, and then in the NFC title game. I like him too because he brings a little more veteran experience to a younger group. And we do need depth. Caleb Farley looks like a bust. Elijah Molden's had trouble staying on the field. Christian Fulton's had trouble staying on the field, although he is extremely talented. I believe Molden's talented as well. And then we have a second-year guy in McCreary who showed promise last year, but it's just a room that I think that needed a little more depth on the quarterback room. And I like him. I like the price we got him at. And to be honest, I like all the deals we have signed so far. They're very team-friendly. Even someone like Dillard, who's $9 million a year. If you can get someone that's a legit offensive lineman, I think that's a bit of a bargain. But I don't think there's anything to worry about with him. If it doesn't go right, it doesn't go right. It's a 1-year deal. It's cheap. But he has made plays in this league, and he adds a little bit of depth and experience to what is a pretty young room that hasn't stayed the healthiest. Let's just be real with it. So I like the signing. I think he's a talented player. And I like, the salary, the contract that they gave him. So,
yeah, not to piggyback off of Vin, he hit everything on the head, but it definitely gives the opportunity for Roger McCreary to move from the outside to inside, where he's naturally plays. So it's a solid signing in my opinion. So obviously, I like it so much better than Caleb Farley. I wish that guy we can X his contract out because he is the biggest bust of all time next to Isaiah Wilson.
Well, I think there's still some jurors that are out on that, but I mean, listen, he's been really hurt, and I
haven't played football in like 5 years.
Yeah, 2019.
I know, but I know a lot of people don't put a lot of stock in this, but sometimes I put a little bit of stock in it. He seems really motivated. If you look at his social media, he seems to be really yearning to get back in the field and be productive. I also see him partying like a rock star, so it's tough to figure out which side of the aisle he's on. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, he looks like he'll probably make the roster this year again, unless there's some wild cornerback depth that we add on top of this cat from Tampa Bay. But we'll see. Definitely didn't. Again, guys, I don't like being pessimistic. I don't like disagreeing, but like these signings are good. I don't. You can say what you want, Vin. I don't. I really don't. I want to.
I didn't even have to pay it this time. You said it.
Well, because you're fucking shaking your head, so I don't. I can put those pieces together. I'd love to agree with everyone, absolutely, but these signings. Okay, you can say that all you want, but the facts are the facts. I'm like, yeah, these signings are good, but I don't think these signings get us really much closer to being in contention for anything besides a shitty division. So, I understand why you guys are content with them. I understand why most of the fan base is content with them, but I'm still waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, this is a team that was at number 1 seed in the AFC, then decided to lose 7 in a row in one of the biggest collapses in basically NFL playoff history, or I should say, regular season history. And like, just because it's a new GM, we're supposed to just be okay with the fact that we're just basically replacing guys we let go. I mean, I don't know. I
just think I think there's a bigger plan for him. I don't think he's going to shove all his chips in.
I get it.
Well, let's have a discussion right now. Okay, is Andre Dillard better than Dennis Daly? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Nate
Yes.
Davis, this offensive guard that came from San Francisco, is he better than Nate Davis?
We don't know.
50-50 split, but you paid this kid way less money than would have paid Nate Davis.
Okay, and then Al-Shaair is basically the same player as David Long, but for a cheaper version, and he's on the field more.
Not much cheaper, but a little cheaper. Yeah,
just about.
He's on the field more. Yeah,
yeah. So, and then we got Will Compton Jr. as a special team ace, and then who was the other guy?
Arden Key.
Oh yeah, Arden Key.
Arden Key, another one that he didn't really do anything the first 3 years, but now he's really turned it on with 90 pressures. I think the last 2 years he's had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a healthier.
Replacing Dupree.
Yeah. What'd you say?
No, you're like you just said, replacing Dupree.
Replacing Dupree at a cheaper number. So I think we have some solid. The thing that we're lacking, and we said it to her before, is the wide receiver position. There is nobody on the market right now besides Nicole Hardman, Mecole Hardman or whatever, and then you have Pringle at the bottom of the list or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like I said, DJ Shark, it looks like he's going to sign with Carolina, and then who do we have? Then we're going to rely on rookies again, and we're going to have first and second year guys in that wide receiver room, and NWI is the only vet. That's disgusting.
We brought your boy back.
Who?
Yeah.
We brought your boy. Well, you just said it. NWI.
He's the only veteran in that group. Do you believe that?
Yeah. I mean, I they could still trade for Jerry Jeudy. That's something.
Yeah, but are you going to give a 1 for him? He's not worth that. I would give a 3 at most.
I think Jerry Jeudy finished last year very, very strong. And if you added him with Traylon Burks, I think that is a nice 1-2 punch. I've been a huge fan of Jerry Jeudy since Alabama, but you don't know. I mean, they could take your boy Jackson Najiba at Ohio State.
Yeah, that's still another young guy, though. That means you have.
Yeah,
would you go after Cam? Would you have to go after Cam Sutton instead of Jerry Jeudy for a cheaper price?
I would take either one of them. If it was up to me, I would go Jerry Jeudy, but I have no problem with Cortland Sutton either.
What did I say? Did I butcher that?
No, I butchered it.
And then you got the Hopkins sweepstakes that's still.
Yeah, I mean that's
what would be hilarious because it would be the most Titans thing for us to trade for him and for him to do absolutely nothing.
Again, this is what I'm saying. Even Kayla touched on it, guys. Like, who the fuck wants to come here if we're gonna have the same offensive play style year in, year out? It has to stop. That's the reason why that's also part of why I mentioned 2 weeks ago why I would entertain a Henry trade for a first or second round pick. Because if that's what it's going to have to take in order for them to realize, okay, can't run 35 times a game with a rookie running back or a veteran running back, because that wouldn't make any sense. He's going to have to be elite to be able to attempt to do that. Then that's just the dice we're going to have to roll. It's the pill we're going to have to swallow. Nobody wants to come here. No free agent wide receiver is going to look at this place as a potential landing spot when they know for fucking certainty they're going to be lucky to get 100 targets. That's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. So again, I can't state this enough. This shit needs to go we need a 180 offensive scheme change, and hopefully that Mr. Kelly is gonna provide that for us.
No one's trading a 1 or a 2 for Henry. As good as
I don't think so. But some people wouldn't even contemplate that if it was offered, which I can't understand.
Yeah, you'd obviously have to listen, but I don't think anyone, is trading one or two for almost a 30-year-old running back that over the last 3 years has had over 1,000 carries. I just don't think it'd be the smartest thing to do unless you think that Derrick Henry makes you a bona fide Super Bowl contender for the next 2 to 3 years, which I feel as though with all the dominoes that have fallen with running backs during the podcast, right now I was just scrolling down on my phone. I saw Damian Harris sign with the Bills. So, you got running backs being signed all over.
The Bills, Damian Harris?
Damian, who's the guy from the Patriots?
Oh, yeah.
What, the receiver?
No, the running back.
Oh, yeah.
So he signed with the Bills. I mean, you've seen running backs get signed all over. And I don't think, I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened already. And I do think that this team does think with Henry back and Tannehill back and a receiver added through the draft with Chig in his second year and Brooks hopefully improving and Kyle Phillips staying healthy, that we could put together a pretty decent offense that's capable of winning the division.
That's another. Oh, my bad. That's another thing. We have Austin Hooper. He's visiting with the Raiders.
I would sign him at the right number. If it's going to be, if Dalton Schultz got $9 million, I think you can get Hooper for 7 or 8. I would go for it.
He ain't leaving Oakland.
Here is a huge fan of him, Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. I think he's going to go in the first round.
Dad loves him.
And I think he is a Vrabel guy through and through. Who will do. You ask him to pick up a pile of shit and eat it because you tell him it's going to win the game. He'll do it. He'll block. He can catch. He's obviously an intelligent guy, Notre Dame graduate. I think that wouldn't be the craziest thing to do at 11. It could be surprising, but I mean, if this guy can give you, 7, 8, 9 years as a starting tight end, I don't hate that move at 11.
That's another glaring need, man. I'm telling you, the Raiders are not letting him leave that building.
If he really is worth that,
so
if he's really worth that, I'd be down for it. I haven't really watched any film on Meyer, so
he's pretty good football player, Michael Mayer. I watch a lot of Notre Dame, a lot of Irish friends I got. They're all Notre Dame fans. I joke with them and call them the Fighting Italians. So I watch a lot of Notre Dame football, and this kid is the real deal for sure.
Yeah. So just to touch on what I opened the show with briefly, and I touched a little bit on it with Kayla. I know off the bat, Vin will have some counters on it, which is good, obviously, for both perspectives. But I don't understand how when there is a possibility that a talent is available like Lamar Jackson, that a team that is predicated on the run, it's been that way their entire existence in 2 states, that they're not screaming, banging on the door of Lamar Jackson with a fucking blank check. Because if there's a guy that you would want to be part of a running style of offense, not to mention the fact that we might not have seen his potential as a thrower, because the guy's had one big white dude to throw to his whole fucking career, right? I mean, I think Treylon Burks would be his best receiver in his career immediately, and that's not saying much. So, between the fact that we're a running team, the fact that there could be untapped potential as a thrower, previous MVP 5 minutes ago, I don't understand how they're not all in, because what that does, like I said earlier, that opens you up. Now you don't have to think about a quarterback this year in the draft. You don't have to think about a quarterback next year in the draft. I'm talking a 4 or 5 year contract. And you can use those draft picks to do whatever you want with them. But as of now, based on the fact that there's been little to no talks, they clearly don't think he's worth that kind of money, worth that kind of, hope, and worth that kind of trust. So there's been no noise unless Rand and Mike got some shit brewing, which I'll tell you, my dad is absolutely convinced it's happening, and it's beyond speaking it into existence. It's in his mind, it's done already. But I don't understand, unless they're just doing a really good job keeping it under wraps, how we're not hearing more about their involvement in trying to obtain him. But Vin, you can give us some kickback on that and why you're not as high on that kind of transaction as I am.
I mean, there's no doubting the kid is talented as could be. I do think he has the ability as a thrower if he was given real weapons. I mean, you look what Jalen Hurts did this year when they added someone's name who we will not mention anymore. They gave him 2 legit receivers, and he balled out this year. Probably still should have been the MVP in my opinion of the league. That being said, his style of play, it's predicated on the run. He's always going to look to run first, in my opinion. And the last 3 years, he's missed the last 2 years, I'm sorry, he's missed 10 games. It seems like his style of play is catching up with him a little bit. I think there's a reason why Baltimore only offered him 3 years, because I think to commit to him for anything more than that, 5, 6 years, is asking a lot when you're going to have to pay him $250 million. We're in a situation right now where if we were going to make that move, Bayard gone, Tannehill obviously gone, maybe even Henry gone. You're going to have to open up a lot of space to be able to sign him. And I don't think with what they've done in free agency right now, these conservative 1-2 year deals, I think the longest deal we've given so far was to Arden Key and Andre Dillard, 3 years apiece. I don't think we're looking to make a huge splash and commit hundreds of millions of dollars to a player who, although is extremely talented, no denying that, has had trouble staying on the field. And we've been saying it for a long time. Your best ability is availability. He's missed 12 games the last 4 years, 10 games the last 2 years, and you're going to give him a line that hasn't played together. We don't know how it's going to look. And you're probably going to have to get rid of a lot of talent to get him. So you're going to surround him with less talent that he already had in Baltimore, make him pick up more of the workload. I just don't think it's the sound decision. Would I be mad? No. He is extremely talented, and I think he's a playmaker and he's an X factor. I just think as time goes on, it has shown. I said it to all my buddies when he first got on the field. This kid is great. I am telling you, though, 4, 5, 6 years into the league, it's going to catch up with him. And it seems like it has a little bit. And let's just call it what it is. I think that's why his market is a lot softer than, a lot of people think it should be. And also, he has no agent. You're dealing with him. So when the intricacies of a contract are being worked out, you want to deal with someone who's, gone to school to negotiate those things. And I'm just sure it's probably really frustrating on a lot of different levels to negotiate with a player straight up who thinks he's worth double than what you're offering him. So I don't think that's the prudent move for us right now. But if we did make it, I'm not going to sit and cry in my room and say, oh, my God, we got Lamar Jackson. We're screwed. I'd be happy about it. We have nothing else to be but to be optimistic. I just don't think it's the prudent decision at the moment.
You could just drop that mic right now because there's nothing else to say about that.
All right. Well, listen, again, if it's about the injury, if it's about being injury prone, I'll understand it wholeheartedly. But outside of that, the guy had like 65 touchdowns in 2 seasons with fucking nobody. So you don't want to pay. You were considering keeping Tannehill for what, 10 million less? Okay. So you won't lock up another guy for an extra 3 years. That's a previous MVP that runs the ball unlike any quarterback in the history of the NFL. I'm not talking about a 10-year, $600 million Mahomes contract. I think 4 or 5 years gets it done. And, you could throw a 4th-year option in there. So, I don't understand it. If we got to make up our minds here. Do we want to contend now? Do we want to tank to get our rookie quarterback? Like, what is it? I can't understand. We watch this guy. We've seen this guy, what he's done to us. Yes, he got in a bad hole early again in 2019, and nobody could stop Derrick Henry. So it was a formula for disaster. And another thing I want to bring up, too, everyone talks about his playoff record against Tannehill. The guy's been in the league fucking half the time Tannehill's been in the league. Kid's got 5 years in the league. Tannehill's got a decade in the league. I don't know how you compare the two guys based on playoff performance. It's ridiculous. Again, I can't stress this enough. The guy had nothing. Guys had nothing to work with in Baltimore. And another thing, this is all predicated on keeping Derrick Henry. If you're going to get rid of Derrick Henry, then Lamar Jackson is not as potent as he could possibly be in Nashville. So that has to be part of this situation. But the guy's an absolute stud. The guy's fucking Showtime. And
Absolutely is.
you give him a tight end that's on the rise. You give him a wide receiver that's on the rise. You give him another guy in the draft, second round guy with promise, some height, some speed. I mean, dude, the guy was throwing to Marquise Brown. That was his best target outside of Andrews, obviously. That wasn't a tight end. We might not even be able to see this guy at his full potential. It just blows me away, and that people are so against it. But I know what you said, Vin. You're not going to be pissed if it happens, but in my eyes, it is hands down the best option for them.
Well, there just has to be something that us as fans don't know that a lot of teams around the league know, because if his ceiling was that high, I think people thought as high of him as a lot of fans do. Something would have happened already, whether it was with Baltimore or another team. But for all 32 teams to kind of be like numb on it, when the whole world thought, even Kayla said it, the day free agency started, someone would, sign into an offer sheet. Nobody's done anything with him. So maybe there's something else we don't know about him that, 32 teams have the resources to find out about. I don't know. Like I said, if it was up to me, it wouldn't happen. I don't think it's the prudent decision to make at the moment. If we did it, I got no other choice but to support it. I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be mad either. But I'm telling you, I think it's more the more of the lines of it's the 2 first-round draft picks for the offer sheet, and it's almost $250 million. I mean, $250 million, $250 million, almost, and half of that, more than half of that is going to be guaranteed.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not all in and I'm not all out on Lamar Jackson. The guy's got incredible talent, but like Vince said, there's got to be something else.
Yeah, there's got to be something else. But don't forget, guys, this defense that we've been grown to love, that's been built by guys like Kevin Byard, obviously now Jeffrey Simmons, and we've been pretty lucky with defenses being good relatively often. The window for that defensive potency is probably going to start getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. So to me, it boils down to: do you want to take another risk on another guy when this team's historically had no luck drafting quarterbacks? Or you take the guy that is proven, won an MVP, thrown tons of touchdowns to fucking nobodies, and give it a shot with a guy behind him that could be the greatest runner to ever touch a football. It just, again, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I would love Stroud. I'd love Stroud. I'd be hyped for AR-15. I swear to God, I would be hyped for him. I really would, because I love guys that play like him. I do. That's just how football is now. You got to play like Anthony Richardson. I mean, he's not, he's pretty unproven. He's only been popular for 5 minutes. He doesn't have a lot of college football under his belt, but boy, the little bit that he does was spectacular. So I'd love a rookie to get excited about again, but history just has a tendency to repeat itself. And there's a guy out there that's won an MVP and is only 26 years old. So I don't know. We'll see how everything shapes up. Like Kayla said, those 2 guys are keeping everything under lock. So for all we know, they could be all balls deep. Well, I'm not going to say that. You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. Cut that out, Sammy. They could be all in on Lamar Jackson. And we don't even know it. And it's just a matter of a couple T's getting crossed and a couple I's getting dotted. So we'll see how that shapes up. But I'm just ready for a fucking domino to fall. Okay, not some third string fucking Tampa Bay corner that's going to start for us. I want a real domino to drop.
He ain't a third. Huh?
All right, second string. But no, what I'm saying is he was Tampa's like third best corner. Now he's going to probably be our number 2. But worse things could happen than that. So, anything you guys want to share before we wrap up? Just flew by another big one, obviously. 48.
No, I think we should get off soon before you say something a little more disparaging.
Oh, listen, Vin, you've been talking about shit every fucking week now. Dry shit, eating shit. You have anything you want to say to us?
Yeah, I've been having some GI problems. All right, so it's been heavy on my mind. All right.
All right. Yeah.
So, with that being said, though, great episode. I think a domino will fall sooner rather than later. We have the draft a little more than a month away, so we'll at least have some questions answered in that regard. Free agency's drying up a little bit, so we'll see if we go receiver or not with what's left in free agency. But we'll have some answers soon enough as the draft is only a month away. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't wait
Hopefully,
for the
next
draft.
time we talk to each other, we have another wide receiver in this room because it is slim picking right now.
Yeah, not a Cody Hollister 1 year $800,000 deal, because I could totally see that happening, or like a Mason Kinsey
Oh.
2 year $1.2 million deal. But anyway, we'll see how it works out. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share the show with your friends on all the platforms that you might watch on. We're picking up a lot of steam, and we don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So make sure you get us out there, and we'll have a bunch of new content for you as the weeks transpire. Excellent guests as always. And that's all we got for you tonight. So I hope everyone has a good one. Tighten up as always. And Sammy, you can send me on out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.